Now we're on example 4.9, and we are to use 2 unit multipliers, not just one. And that's a good thing because it would be hard to get from feet to centimeters. We really have been able to narrow down how many of these unit multipliers we have to memorize. And so we're going to memorize one spot to convert from English measure to metric measure. And that's going to be at inches. So we know that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So because we know that fact, we're going to keep that fact in our mind, and we're not going to worry about how many centimeters in a foot or how many centimeters in a mile. We're just going to figure out, we're going to worry about how many centimeters are in an inch, and if we know that, we know we can get there. We can get to the right answer. And we do know one other thing. We know how many inches are in a foot. Okay, so let's think about this here. We're going to use 2 unit multipliers, and we're going to multiply to get centimeters. So that's the goal. So this is strategic thinking here. We have a goal, and we've got to get there. So if we're going to use 42 feet, we're not ready to use this one yet because this one doesn't have any feet in it. Can we get from feet to inches? And if we're getting from feet to inches, where will we want our inches? We know that 1 foot is 12 inches. So do we want the 12 inches on the top or the 12 inches on the bottom? Think about it. We want it to turn into inches, so we want the feet to cancel. So we will put 1 foot down here, and we're going to put our 12 inches up here. And this is 1, so that is a unit multiplier there. And I'm going to be able to get rid of my feet and my feet. And so now this is 42 times 12 inches. So now I have inches that I'm trying to get to centimeters. So I'm going to use this. But if you think of it, do I want it this way or do I want to flip it over and use it the other way? Because now this is in inches and I want inches to cancel. So I'm going to want inches down here and I'm going to want centimeters on the top because I want my answer in centimeters. So wherever we're going, we want that to be on the top there. And we're getting rid of here, we're getting rid of inches because we want it in centimeters. We want the inches on the bottom. So there will be a cancel. So I'm going to take this same unit multiplier, but I'm going to flip it over to put the centimeters on the top. So here I'm going to have 2.54 centimeters on the top and 1 inch on the bottom. And now my inches on the top and my inches on the bottom will cancel out, and I'm left in centimeters. So now let's do, the only thing we have to do is show our cancellation of our units. Everything is in centimeters now. So don't we just have to put these in parentheses? Your Saxon book does not make you even multiply it out. They're going to leave the answers just like that so that you can concentrate on the proper setup and not have to worry about all of that multiplication. Isn't that nice? Okay, so that should be our answer. And if you look at the problem in the book, that's exactly the way they put the answer. So they just put all of the multiples and then they put centimeters on the end. And of course, we could always jump to a calculator and calculate it out, but the Saxon book leaves your answer just like that so you don't have to worry about the numerical answer. We're just looking for how to do it. Okay, so here we're using 2 unit multipliers to get from miles to inches. So the only thing I have as a common unit between miles and inches, a stepping stone, if you will, is feet. I know how to get from miles to feet, and I know how to get from feet to inches, so let's do that. All right, so we're going to start with 4 miles, and we're going to multiply by something to get this into feet. So if I want this in feet, I want feet on the top, and I want miles on the bottom, so that miles will cancel miles, and then I've got to make it true. So I know that it takes 5,280 feet to equal 1 mile. So now that I've got it in feet, I'm going to go to inches. Well, I know that if I'm getting rid of feet, I want feet on the bottom down here. And I want inches on the top because I want my final answer to be in inches. And then to make this true, I have to have 12 inches is 1 foot. So now I've come up with my 2 unit multipliers right here. And now the miles, which is on the top, cancels the miles, which is on the bottom. The feet on the top cancels the feet on the bottom. And my answer is in inches, just like it was supposed to be. And then I've got like a roadmap of what I have to do in order to get there. So 4 times 5,280 times 12 inches. So let's write it out. 4 times 5,280 times 12 inches. And notice everything on the bottom is 1, so we didn't have to do anything with that. And that is the way your book leaves that answer. I like that about this book. All right, so down at the bottom of page 21, you have this nice little chart. Table of equivalent measures. These should be memorized. There's just no way around it. These must be memorized. They're narrowed down to only, what is that, 7 facts that you must memorize. I would make some flashcards. Now we're working on your practice problem. So this is where you need to get your paper and pencil out and you need to write this problem, which is problem number A, under your practice. 4.5 times 2 4/5. Now I'm going to ask you to pause your video in a minute. I want you to think about it and do it yourself before you let me work it for you, because you're going to have to do your homework by yourself. So this is a good time to practice doing it by yourself before you see how I do it. So remember, hint, hint, when we're going to multiply mixed numbers, we first have to turn them into improper fractions. So pause your video and do that problem by yourself before you come back and let me see if your answer is correct. Pause your video now. Pause your video. All right, so here is our problem, and we're going to work it together, and hopefully it will match the answer that you already have down on your paper. So 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. So 4.5 becomes 9 halves. And we're going to multiply. 2 times 5 is 10 plus 4 is 14 fifths. Okay, not a lot of canceling, but a little bit. We can cancel the 2 and the 14 with a 1 and a 7. So we're going to wind up with 63 over 5. And when we divide that up, we know that 5 goes into 6 one time, and then we got a 13 divided by 5 is a 2, and we've got 3 fifths remaining. Okay, so 12 and 3 fifths would be the mixed number that is going to result from that. So that should be your answer for the first one. Hopefully you are doing them by yourself and not just depending on me showing you the answers here. Here is the B problem, and so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take 3 1/4. Oh my, I forgot to tell you to pause your video. So first copy down the problem, 3 1/4 divided by 1 3/8. So this is practice problem number 2, our part B. Now, pause your video and go do the problem by yourself. So now we're going to work it. Hopefully you've already worked it. So we have 12 plus 1 is 13 over 4 divided by 8 plus 3 is 11 over 8. We're dividing, so we're going to flip and multiply. We always flip this one over. Okay, so 13 divided by 4 times 8 over 11. So now we can cancel the 8 and the 4, and we end up with 26 divided by 11. And 26 divided by 11, 11 is going to go 2 times for a 22. So 2 gives us 22. Then we have 4 left over, so 4 elevenths, and your answer should be 2 and 4 elevenths. This one is example or practice problem C. And remember, we need to, when we're adding and subtracting decimals, we need to line up our decimal places. So here we've got 47.123, 8.416, and 705.4. So I'm just making the points clearer there in case you don't have your book open in front of you. But now I want you to line these up and line up your decimal places, and then pause your video so that you can do the problem by yourself. Do it. Pause it. Come on. Go. All right, so now we're going to do this problem together. We're going to say 47.123. Now I'm going to write my decimals. I'm going to give myself some space horizontally because a big mistake is letting your columns get sloppy. So I might space mine out a little bit more than you do, but hey, it's okay. And I usually get the right answer because I don't get confused about which number is in which column. It's no problem spacing it out. So 8.416, 8.416. 705 is going to be way over here. 705.4. Now remember, there's no problem with adding zeros over here if we want to, just to keep our columns all lined up. So 3 plus 6 is 9. 2 plus 1 is 3. 8 plus 1 is 9. Put my decimal. That's 15 plus 5 is 20. Carry. 6 plus 0 is 6. And a 7. And that should be my answer. 760 and 939 thousandths. So now we're on D. Okay, there is the problem. And again, you're going to need to line up your decimals, and you may have to borrow or rename or whatever you want to call it to get your columns to come out correctly. So pause your video and do that work, please. Okay, so hopefully you did that. And now we've got 800.62 minus 75.88. I always have to line up my decimals there and there. And so now 2 minus 8 doesn't work. I'm going to have to go over here and borrow, carry that one over. 12, take away 8 is 4. 5, take away 8 doesn't work. Oops, I'm going to have to go way over here. And I'm going to borrow from him, make that a 10, borrow again, make that a 10, borrow again. And now 15, take away 8 is 7. 9, take away 5 is 4. 9, take away 7 is 2. And then just bring down the 7. And 724 and 74 hundredths. That's our subtraction of decimals. We're on the last 4 practice problems, and then you can go do your homework. We have 47.05 times 6.42. So we're going to be multiplying, and remember, when you multiply, you do not line up your decimals. You count decimal places at the end. So copy down your problem. This is problem E, I think. Yes, this is problem E. And pause your video. Okay, so I have gone ahead and written my problem. This is times. My decimals happen to line up, but they don't need to line up for a multiplication problem. So now we're going to just multiply. 5 times 2 is 10. 0 times 2 is 0 plus 1. And then 7 times 2 is 14. And 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. So that is my first partial product. So now I'm done with this one, and I'm going to do the next one. So 5 times 4 is 20, but we're going to put it right there. Okay, so it's moving in 1 because we moved to 4 tens, not 4 ones. So 5 times 4 is 20, so we carry our 2. 0 times 4 is 0 plus 2. 7 times 4 is 28, carry the 2. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2 is 18. And now we've got to do the last one. So 5 times 6 is 30. We're moving in one more time. Carry the 3. 0 times 6 is 0 plus the 3. 7 times 6 is 42. And carry the 4. 4 times 6 is 24. So you have a 28. And we're going to add them all up. So we have partial product, partial product, partial product, and now we're going to find the product. So making sure we keep our columns lined up, we've got a 0, a 1, a 6, 17 plus 3 is 20, 8 plus 2 is 12, 10, so 302.061. Now since this 0 is on the end and there's nothing after it, we don't really need that 0 anymore, do we? So we would not leave it on the answer. So 302.061. And now, whenever you do a big problem like this, wouldn't it be smart to go ahead and remember we counted end to get our decimal, and we counted 1, 2, 3, 4, but then we erased the 0 afterwards. You always erase any zeros after you've counted and put your decimal in the right place. But wouldn't it be cool if we had a way of guessing or checking our work? So isn't 47 close to 50? So we'll estimate 47 at 50. Oops, excuse me. And since we rounded 47 up, let's round 6 down. Okay, so 6.42 is close to 6 because we're just trying to get an estimate. Isn't 50 times 6 equal to 300? So isn't 302 a very good chance that this is a correct answer, because 50 times 6 is 300. Okay, so let's come back with the next one. This one is practice problem F. So remember, when we're dividing, we always need to clear the decimals in the divisor. So copy down your problem here and then pause your video and go work your problem, please. So now, hopefully you did what I asked you to do, and you went and you worked your problem, and you already have the answer. We're going to see if it's the same as my answer. So we're going to take this divided by this, so this one goes outside the house. So we're going to put 0.04, and we're dividing 4.028 by 0.04. So when we do this division, we need to make sure that we clear the decimal here, which means we have to also move it 2 places to the right here. We're essentially multiplying both the divisor and the dividend by 100 to clear those decimals. So now we really don't need to even think about those 2 zeros. We've just got 4 into this and so forth. So 4 goes into 4 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. We subtract and we get a 0. And we bring down, but we bring down a 0. So since we brought down a 0, we know a 0 is going to go there. 0 times 4 is 0. And then we're going to bring down the next one. And we're going to bring down a 2. We're going to say, well, does 4 go into 2? No, it doesn't go into 2. So we're going to put it down another 0. And we've got a 0. So we're going to subtract and get another 2. Okay, so a lot of times I don't even put that there because I know I'm just going to have to bring the next one down. So a lot of times I'll just bring the next one down when there's a 0 upstairs. So 4 into 28 is 7. And 7 times 4 is 28. And I get a 0. Okay, so 100.7 is our answer. Let's check and see, is that a reasonable answer? So we had 4 divided by 4/100ths. Okay, now it's not exactly 4, but it's close. 4 divided by 4/100ths. So could we flip this and multiply? 4 times 100/4. The 4's are going to cancel, and my answer is going to be 100. So this was an approximation, but we should have the right answer, right? Because we did check it to see if it made sense. And that should be your right answer, your correct answer. So now we have 2 unit multipliers that we're going to use to get from 75 feet to centimeters. So I'm glad they said 2, because we need to go from feet to inches, and then from inches to centimeters. So 75 feet, and we're trying to get to inches first because we know how to get from inches to centimeters. So if we want to go to inches, don't we want inches on the top? And we want to cancel feet, so don't we want feet on the bottom? So then we have to make this true, so we're going to put 12 inches is 1 foot. And then we're going to come over here and do another unit multiplier. So here are feet, cancel our feet. So now we're in inches. We're trying to get to centimeters. So we want centimeters on the top and we want inches on the bottom so that it will cancel. So now we're going to say 2.54 centimeters is 1 inch. And now we have our road map, our inches, cancel our inches. We have nothing but 1s on the bottom. So isn't our answer going to be 75 times 12 times 2.54 and then centimeters? You know what? I think I forgot to tell you to pause your video. So hopefully you did it anyway. That should be your answer down there at the bottom. Now we have our last problem. Okay, so here we are with 2 unit multipliers to get from 450 inches to miles. Okay, now I know how to get from inches to feet and from feet to miles. So I'm glad we get to use 2 unit multipliers. Okay, so I want you to copy down the problem, and this time I want you to pause your video and do your work. Try to get to the answer before you look at how I did it. So hopefully you've done that. So we've got 450 inches, and we're going to multiply it by something that has inches on the bottom because we want inches and inches to cancel. And we're trying to get to feet because we know how to get from inches to feet and then from feet to miles. So we're going to put feet on the top because that's what we want to go to. We're going to now make this true. So we know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. So now we know that inches cancels inches, and now I'm in feet and I'm going to miles. So I want the feet to cancel again. So then I'm going to put miles on the top, and I'm going to have 5,280 feet is 1 mile. And now I've got everything canceling like it should. I'm in miles, and my answer is going to be 450 divided by, and then these 2 are on the bottom, 12 times 5,280 miles. Okay, so that's what I would do. I would leave it, since he's letting you leave it with just the work to be shown, I would leave it like this. The 450 is on the top, but the 12 and the 5,280 are on the bottom. And that is our last problem. And now I think you are thoroughly ready to go do your homework. And this is Mrs. A, and may God bless your day.